Good morning, welcome to Think and Grow Rich Daily Hangout. My name is Sandy Levesque, and this is a hangout dedicated to the book Think and Grow Rich, and also to just unprogramming from the lack of consciousness that's all around us, that's really easy to sort of get swept up in if you're not tuning into things that are of a different vibration, you could say, or just on a different level field. So welcome to the group. If you'd like to actually join in the Hangout, you're very welcome to. I've just posted the links in the Facebook group. If you're having trouble getting in, then just let me know. I know that a lot of people who are usually on can't make today, so it might just be me today. We shall see. I'll just check on Facebook whether everyone can actually see the right links. I think so. So yesterday we read about stopping 3 feet from gold and the story of Mr. Darby, or W.H. Darby, and his uncle, a guy who, when he was quite young, decided to go and mine gold in Colorado, and he did that. And actually, I think this was 2 days ago, but it just feels like I should mention it again. Basically, it's a true story. He went off to Colorado, bought some machinery. They started to just dig in different mines to see if they could find any gold. Actually found some gold, and decided to go back to home and raise money to get more machinery so they could really properly mine it and become, very wealthy in the process. Except there was one problem. The gold actually started to run out when they got back to the mine. They were digging away, getting all this gold, and then suddenly there was no gold anymore. It had run out, so they ended up deciding, well, that was perhaps it then, let's quit. And they sold the machinery they bought, sold it to a junkman who decided to actually get an engineer into the mine, and the other guys went back home. This junk man decided to get it checked out, and an engineer came and looked at the mine and found that there was actually a fault line which was hiding where the rest of the gold was. So this junk man went on to use the machinery he'd bought at dirt cheap prices to mine the mine and mine the gold, and became a multi-millionaire in the process. So this is just a brilliant example of how oftentimes when we think that nothing's happening or that it's all just stopped, that we should quit, you just never know what can be around the corner. And this young man at the time, he went on to become an insurance salesman, and he became one of the most successful salesmen in America, even though he'd had this early failure. And why did he become successful? He became successful because he'd had that experience of stopping 3 feet from gold, and he decided he would never stop when someone just said, no, I don't want to buy insurance from you, or when it looked like he was just not making any sales. He would always keep going because he didn't know where the gold was. And he became one of the most successful guys at the time of the book coming out, being one of the few salesmen to make over $1 million a year through selling insurance. So, just a really inspiring story. And yesterday we read about becoming master of your fate, captain of your ship. And today we're actually on the second chapter, which is desire, the starting point of all of achievement. So I'm just going to share my screen so I can start reading. And if you want to hop on, even though we started, you're very welcome to. Okay, so desire, the starting point of all achievement. The first step towards riches. When Edwin C. Barnes climbed down from the freight train in Orange, New Jersey, more than 30 years ago, he may have resembled a tramp, but his thoughts were those of a king. As he made his way from the railroad tracks to Thomas A. Edison's office, I'm just checking that we haven't read this. Oh yeah, no, we haven't. To Mr. Edison's office, his mind was at work. He saw himself standing in Edison's presence. He heard himself asking Mr. Edison for an opportunity to carry out the one consuming obsession of his life, a burning desire to become the business associate of the great inventor. Barnes's desire was not a hope, it was not a wish, it was a keen, pulsating desire which transcended everything else. It was definite. The desire was not new when he approached Mr. Edison. It had been Barnes's dominating desire for a long time. In the beginning, when the desire first appeared in his mind, it may have been, probably was, only a wish. I think we read this yesterday. Huh. Oh, maybe we didn't. Sorry. Sorry, guys. I can't remember if we read this. No, I think Geraldine read to the end of the chapter and that was it. Okay, so the desire was not new when he approached Edison. It had been Barnes's dominating desire for a long time. In the beginning, when the desire first appeared in his mind, it may have been, probably was, only a wish, but it was no mere wish when he appeared before Edison with it. A few years later, Edwin C. Barnes again stood before Edison in the same office where he first met the inventor. This time his desire had been translated into reality. He was in business with Edison. The dominating dream of his life had become a reality. Today, people who know Barnes envy him because of the break life yielded him. They see him in the days of his triumph without taking the trouble to investigate the cause of his success. Barnes succeeded because he chose a definite goal, placed all of his energy, or his willpower, or his effort, and everything back of that goal. He did not become the partner of Edison the day he arrived. He was content to start in the most menial work, as long as it provided an opportunity to take even one step toward his cherished goal. 5 years passed before the chance he had been seeking made its appearance. During all those years, not one ray of hope, not one promise of attainment of his desire had been held out to him. To everyone except himself, he appeared only another cog in the Edison business wheel. But in his own mind, he was the partner of Edison every minute of the time, from the very day that he first went to work there. It is a remarkable illustration of the power of a definite desire. Barnes won his goal because he wanted to be a business associate of Mr. Edison more than he wanted anything else. He created a plan by which to attain that purpose, but he burned all bridges behind him. He stood by his desire until it became the dominating obsession of his life and finally a fact. When he went to Orange, he did not say to himself, I will try to induce Edison to give me a job of some sort. He said, I will see Edison and put him on notice that I have come to go into business with him. He did not say, I will work there for a few months, and if I get no encouragement, I will quit and get a job somewhere else. He did say, I will start anywhere. I will do anything Edison tells me to do. But before I am through, I will be his associate. He did not say, I will keep my eyes open for another opportunity in case I fail to get what I want in the Edison organization. He said, there is but one thing in this world that I am determined to have, and that is a business association with Thomas A. Edison. I will burn all bridges behind me and stake my entire future on my ability to get what I want. He left himself no possible way of retreat. He had to win or perish. That is all there is to the Barnes story of success. A long while ago, a great warrior faced a situation which made it necessary for him to make a decision which ensured his success on the battlefield. He was about to send his armies against a powerful foe, whose men outnumbered his own. He loaded his soldiers into boats, sailed to the enemy's country, unloaded soldiers and equipment, then gave the order to burn the ships that had carried them. Addressing his men before the first battle, he said, You see the boats going up in smoke. That means we cannot leave these shores alive unless we win. We now have no choice. We win or we perish. They won. Every person who wins in any undertaking must be willing to burn his ships and cut all sources of retreat. Only by so doing can one be sure of maintaining that state of mind known as a burning desire to win, essential to success. The morning after the Great Chicago Fire, a group of merchants stood on State Street, looking at the smoking remains of what had been their stores. They went into a conference to decide if they would try to rebuild or leave Chicago and start over in a more promising section of the country. They reached a decision, all except one, to leave Chicago. The merchant who decided to stay and rebuild pointed a finger at the remains of his store and said, Gentlemen, on that very spot, I will build the world's greatest store, no matter how many times it may burn down. That was more than 50 years ago. The store was built. It stands there today, a towering monument to the power of the state of mind known as burning desire. The easy thing for Marshall Field to have done would have been exactly what his fellow merchants did. When the going was hard and the future looked dismal, they pulled up and went where the going seemed easier. Mark well this difference between Marshall Field and the other merchants, because it is the same difference which distinguishes Edwin C. Barnes from thousands of other young men who have worked in the Edison organization. It is the same difference which distinguishes practically all who succeed from those who fail. Every human being who reaches the age of understanding of the purpose of money wishes for it. Wishing will not bring riches, but desiring riches with a state of mind that becomes an obsession, then planning definite ways and means to acquire riches, and backing those plans with a persistence which does not recognize failure, will bring riches. The method by which desire for riches can be transmuted into its financial equivalent consists of 6 definite practical steps, viz. First, fix in your mind the exact amount of money that you desire. It is not sufficient merely to say, I want plenty of money. First, be definite as to the amount. There is a psychological reason for definiteness, which will be described in a subsequent chapter. Second, determine exactly what you intend to give in return for the money you desire. There is no reality as something for nothing. Third, establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money you desire. Fourth, create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once, whether you are ready or not, to put this plan into action. Fifth, write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire. Name the time limit for its acquisition. State what you intend to give in return for the money, and describe clearly the plan through which you intend to accumulate it. 6. Read your written statement aloud twice daily, once just before retiring at night, and once after rising in the morning. As you read, see and feel and believe yourself already in possession of the money. It is important that you follow the instructions described in these 6 steps. It is especially important that you observe and follow the instructions in the 6th paragraph. You may complain that it is impossible for you to see yourself in possession of money before you actually have it. Here is where a burning desire will come to your aid. If you truly desire money so keenly that your desire is an obsession, you will have no difficulty in convincing yourself, that you will acquire it. The object is to want money, and to become so determined to have it that you convince yourself you will have it. Only those who become money conscious ever accumulate great riches. Money consciousness means that the mind has become so thoroughly saturated with the desire for money that one can see oneself already in possession of it. To the uninitiated, who has not been schooled in the working principles of the human mind, these instructions may appear impractical. It may be helpful to all who fail to recognize the soundness of the 6 steps to know that the information they convey was received from Andrew Carnegie, who began as an ordinary laborer in the steel mills, but managed, despite his humble beginning, to make these principles yield him a fortune of considerably more than $100 million. It may be of further help to know that the 6 steps here recommended were carefully scrutinized by the late Thomas A. Edison, who placed his stamp of approval upon them as being not only the steps essential for the accumulation of money, but necessary for the attainment of any definite goal. These steps call for no hard labor. They call for no sacrifice. They do not require one to become ridiculous or credulous. To apply them calls for no great amount of education. But the successful application of these 6 steps does call for sufficient imagination to enable one to see and to understand that accumulation of money cannot be left to chance, good fortune, and luck. One must realize that all who have accumulated great fortunes first did a certain amount of dreaming, hoping, wishing, desiring, and planning before they acquired money. You may as well know right here that you can never have riches in great quantities unless you can work yourself into a white heat of desire for money and actually believe you will possess it. You may as well know also that every great leader from the dawn of civilization down to the present was a dreamer. Christianity, just having some tea, is the greatest potential power in the world today because its founder was an intense dreamer who had the vision and the imagination to see realities in their mental and spiritual form before they had been transmuted into physical form. If you do not see great riches in your imagination, you will never see them in your bank balance. Never in the history of America has there been so great an opportunity for practical dreamers as now exists. The 6-year economic collapse has reduced all men substantially to the same level. A new race is about to be run. The stakes represent huge fortunes, which will be accumulated within the next 10 years. The rules of the race have changed, because we now live in a changed world that definitely favors the masses. those who had but little or no opportunity to win under the conditions existing during the Depression, when fear paralyzed growth and development. We who are in this race for riches should be encouraged to know that this changed world in which we live is demanding new ideas, new ways of doing things, new leaders, new inventions, new methods of teaching, new methods of marketing, new books, new literature, new features for the radio, new ideas for moving pictures. Back of all this demand for new and better things, there is one quality which one must possess to win, and that is definiteness of purpose, the knowledge of what one wants and a burning desire to possess it. The business depression marked the death of one age and the birth of another. This changed world requires practical dreamers who can and will put their dreams into action. The practical dreamers have always been and will always be the pattern makers of civilization. We who desire to accumulate riches should remember the real leaders of the world have always been men who harnessed and put into practical use the intangible, unseen forces of unborn opportunity, and have converted those forces or impulses of thought into skyscrapers, cities, factories, airplanes, automobiles, and every form of convenience that makes life more pleasant. Tolerance and an open mind are practical necessities of the dreamer of today. Those who are afraid of new ideas are doomed before they start. Never has there been a time more favourable to pioneers than the present. True, there is no wild and woolly West to be conquered, as in the days of the covered wagon, but there is a vast business, financial, and industrial world to be remoulded and redirected along new and better lines. In planning to acquire your share of the riches, let no one influence you to scorn the dreamer. To win the big stakes in this changed world, you must catch the spirit of the great pioneers of the past, whose dreams have given to civilization all that it has of value, the spirit, which serves as the lifeblood of our own country, your opportunity and mine to develop and market our talents. Let us not forget, Columbus dreamed of an unknown world, staked his life on the existence of such a world, and discovered it. Copernicus, the great astronomer, dreamed of a multiplicity of worlds and revealed them. No one denounced him as impractical after he had triumphed. Instead, the world worshipped at his shrine, proving once more that success requires no apologies and failure permits no alibis. If the thing you wish to do is right and you believe in it, go ahead and do it. Put your dream across and never mind what they say if you meet with temporary defeat, for they, perhaps, do not know that every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. Henry Ford, poor and uneducated, dreamed of a horseless carriage, went to work with what tools he possessed, without waiting for opportunity to favour him. And now evidence of his dream belts the entire earth. He has put more wheels into operation than any man who has ever lived, because he was not afraid to back his dreams. Thomas Edison dreamed of a lamp that could be operated by electricity, began where he stood to put his dream into action, and despite more than 10,000 failures, he stood by that dream until he made it a physical reality. Practical dreamers do not quit. Whelan dreamed of a chain of cigar stores, transformed his dream into action, and now the United Cigar Stores occupy the best corners of America. Lincoln dreamed of freedom for black slaves, put his dream into action, and barely missed living to see a united North and South translate his dream into reality. The Wright brothers dreamed of a machine that would fly through the air. Now when one may see evidence all over the world that they dreamed soundly. Marconi dreamed of a system for harnessing the intangible forces of the ether. Evidence that he did not dream in vain may be found in every wireless and every radio in the world. Moreover, Marconi's dream has brought the humblest cabin and the most stately manor side by side. It made the people of every nation on earth backdoor neighbors. It gave the President of the United States a medium by which he may talk to all the people of America at one time, and on short notice. It may interest you to know that Marconi's friends, quote-unquote friends, had him taken into custody and examined in a psychopathic hospital when he announced he had devised a principle through which he could send messages through the air without the aid of wires or other direct physical means of communication. The dreamers of today fare better. The world has become accustomed to new discoveries. Nay, it has shown a willingness to reward the dreamer who gives the world a new idea. The greatest achievement was, at first and for a time, but a dream. The oak sleeps in the acorn, the bird waits in the egg, and the highest vision of the soul, and in the highest vision of the soul, a waking angel stirs. Dreams are the seedlings of reality. Awake, arise, and assert yourself, you dreamers of the world. Your star is now in the ascendancy. The world depression brought the opportunity you have been waiting for. It taught people humility, tolerance, and open-mindedness. The world is filled with an abundance of opportunity, which the dreamers of the past never knew. A burning desire to be and to do is the starting point from which the dreamer must take off. Dreams are not born of indifference, laziness, or lack of ambition. Okay, I think I might stop there because there's still quite a lot to go. Oh, thank you, Lauren, who just said we just finished chapter 1. Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't remember. I think because we had read something about Edison and Barnes in the lecture notes just last week. So I was thinking, hang on, I'm having a deja vu here. So that's desire. That's most of chapter 2 and desire. So I know that every time I hear that passage, dreamers of the world, your time is an ascendancy, that just inspires me so much. And the dreams are the seedlings of reality. I just think that's, if you can really take that to heart, no matter what your dream is, you'll find some strength inside you to keep going when, you know, no one else can see your dream. Like Marconi, that's such a great example with his friends actually putting him into a psychopathic hospital. In fact, I've shared this before, but I'll share it quickly now. I know someone who does what I do on the internet, he worked as an employee for a long time, and when he decided to become an entrepreneur and began building an online business, his family couldn't understand what was happening to him because, he was doing a lot of personal development and starting to speak a bit differently, you know, not speaking so negatively, starting to believe in himself more, and his family were worried about him and put him in a psychopathic hospital too, in a mental institution, he says. And their assumption was that he would go in there and come out of the institution having come to his senses, that he wouldn't continue becoming an entrepreneur and doing something a bit different because nobody else in his family was an entrepreneur. But he actually became more determined in the institution to do what he wanted to do, and not to listen to people that were giving him advice, because he realized that if he listened to the people that were telling him what to do, he would have a life that resembled their lives, and that he didn't really want to have that kind of lifestyle. That was what had taken him to entrepreneurship, but he'd realized, wow, I don't have to always do a job that I don't really enjoy that just allows me to survive. I can do something different. And now, today, he's become a really successful guy. I think he's 6 figures. He's been on stages speaking. He's been invited onto calls. He's inspiring a lot of people. And so he's another example of this, what Napoleon is talking about, when your desire is so strong that you can take, even being put in a mental institution, having everyone around you think that you're crazy. You know, when your desire is that strong that you're unstoppable. It's like nothing can just knock you over. You will become unstoppable because you will get to where you want to go. It's like you become this bulldozer that just bulldozes over every obstacle in your way. And if you're thinking, well, how do I do that? How do I become like a bulldozer? Because maybe you don't think that you have this burning desire, or maybe you don't feel strongly about whatever it is that you would like to do. And I can totally relate to that, because that's kind of how I felt when I first started reading this book and studying this philosophy. And something I would say is, often it's not really the actual thing that you care about. Like, how can I put it this way? It's not necessarily an amount of money or a job title. It's more what the title or the money would actually do for you, how it would change your everyday life, what it would enable you to do that you can't do now, what your life will be like in a year's time if nothing's changed from now and you still are having the same kind of lifestyle. Those kinds of things can help you to put a stake in the ground of where you'd like to go. and to start to develop that burning desire that that's where you're going no matter what. And also the exercise that he talks about at the beginning of the chapter of writing out your personal statements. There's something magical about putting it on paper, you know, and following the steps that he describes. And I think I'm going to post, actually, somebody shared, one of my friends, a personal statement from Bruce Lee that he modeled on this book. And obviously was successful in doing that until he died suddenly at quite a young age. But he, you know, having it down on paper and having a sense that that's where you'd like to go, the more you sort of tune into it and read it, the more you start to expect it, and you start to have this burning desire. It's like you build it up. It might not be there right now, but you can certainly build it. So I hope that this chapter helps you to actually to really understand that. Oh, and I'm just reading a comment from Lauren here, who says she had to press pause, so she's a bit behind real time, but page 27, 28 is very much like the jazz standard lyrics. They all laughed. Oh, cool. Okay, so that could be a great resource for people to go and check out, whether you're watching now, because we have quite a few people watching, or whether you're watching the recording. So the song is called They All Laughed, and Lauren, when you get to this part in the video, here's a shout out to you. Thank you for sharing that. I've never heard of that song. I think I'm actually going to go and check it out after we finish. So it's great actually to have, I think, this kind of information in different sources. So you know, like in films, like yesterday we talked about Invictus with Morgan Freeman and Matt Damon, a film about Nelson Mandela, and a true story of the Rugby World Cup just after apartheid had ended in South Africa, after they'd ended it. And today we're talking about Ella Fitzgerald and this song, They All Laughed. So yeah, so that's it for today, for this week as well. We're back as normal on Monday at the new time of 12:15 Central European Time, 11:15 in the UK and Portugal, where I am. And if you're in America, it's 6:15 in New York time, I think. Yeah, that's right. So today we read about burning desire, and there's a practical exercise that you can do of writing out what your chief target is. And I suggest you go back to the beginning of the chapter if you haven't done that. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great weekend. Also, what we're still doing is on Fridays, I'm just sharing a picture to help remind everyone who's doing a habit of the month. If you're doing that, then you can share how your habit is going, and actually you can probably choose a new habit for August, because it's the 1st of August today. So I'll just share how my habit is going, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, basically there's an amazing book all about the power of habits. It's by Charles Duhigg. It was a New York Times bestseller, and he covers how individuals create habits, how movements are formed with habits, and how companies have habits. And it's really powerful because you might not realize it, but a huge chunk of your day is made up of habits that you formed in the past. And a lot of us have these habits kind of unconsciously. And this book helps you to become more aware of what habits you have and how you can change some of the habits that might not be working for you into habits that support you into where you would like to go. So, for example, I've developed habits like meditation, like taking care of my body, stretching and running, you know, taking care of my business, doing exercises from this book, and breathing exercises as well. Like, so it's things that, you know, it's not like you feel like you have to do this set routine every day, but it just becomes part of what you do. Like in the same way that an athlete has a set of habits to help them develop their body to be at peak physical performance, it's like something we can do for ourselves. So each month I post a picture, and you can choose a habit you'd like to focus on for that month, one at a time, and just share every Friday how it's going. So I'm going to share that picture shortly. My habit for July was to read my Think and Grow Rich statements every day, and I actually did it. You know, it's the first time since we started this exercise of actually successfully completing a habit. So I'm quite happy, and I actually now do it twice a day. So I read my personal statement. You know, by the 27th of August, I will have in my possession, you know, whatever your amount is, and how it will come to you. And then I also read the self-confidence formula. So I've been doing that every day. After I heard someone who used this book to totally change his life talk about how he did that every day and how much it helped him develop more faith in what he was asking for, that it would actually come. So that's gone really well for me personally. I'd love to know how your habits have gone. So do feel free to share them in the group. And thank you so much for watching. We shall see you next week. Have a great weekend, everyone. Goodbye.